Well, another non-audio project, but it's tech, and Ben's here.
Hi.
So, welcome to my mom's kitchen. Mom just redid her kitchen of 30 years and took it down to the studs and put a new kitchen in. So, guess who's doing the AV install? So, we went from having a center light in here, which is that middle ceiling pocket, and maybe 4 recessed can lights in here, and we decided to make it look like the Queen Live Killers album in here. I think we have 15 or 16 can lights in here. And we also added these really cool Philips Hue linear fixtures, which at the time of shooting this video are not available from anybody other than buying from Hue direct. So those of you who have watched my various journeys with Hue lights, here's another one. So this is a linear track. It has a power supply in the center, and then it has 2 tracks on either side. And you can put in whatever you want. So there are these linear fixtures in here like this, and then there's also some spots. So what Ben and I have to do is mount 12 under cabinet lights in here. We also have to hang a TV, crimp some Cat 6 jacks back there. And you'll notice who did the electrical specification in here, because every place where there should be 1 outlet, there are 2. And we also have a huge density. So because God forbid we do anything standard, we have to modify basically everything. So these are, I think these are called play bars. Yeah. So what we ended up doing was, we did this on another project. There was actually a road case that was a production manager's office that had these in here. And John from engineering came out with this really cool idea of sandwiching 2 pieces of 1/4-inch marine grade plastic. Here, Ben, let's put this on the counter. So on the back of these light fixtures, there are 2, which we think are 440 screws. We have to figure that out tonight. But basically, there is this portion, which is the mount. There's this little gasket piece. So these mount just like this in here. So you basically will screw from the back of this in here. And then this gives you a mounting modality. So you mount the light to the plastic, and then you mount the whole thing underneath the cabinet. So each cabinet is going to get one of these mounted underneath it. So the way that we're going to do that is we spec'd 4 conductor cable that the electricians ran into the basement. So for each cabinet, there's 2 lights, there's 2 conductors in each one of these. And then that's how we're going to do it. So we have a really cool 150 watt, 12 volt DC power supply in the basement. That is going to be what controls all of this. And we are going to use a Brilliant controller in here so that we can put all of the lights in scenes. What I didn't mention is that all of these can lights are actually smart lights. So she is going to use an analog light fixture in the center here. So we're going to use Lutron Caseta to control that. Oh, there's this one, and then there's there's going to be a dining room table that's over here. So the Lutron will allow those 2 lights to be into the Brilliant universe so that you can hit one switch and it will dim everything. So as far as the audio portion goes, we have 2 Sonos speakers that are going in the ceiling. I believe they're 8-inch speakers. So those are going to go to a Sonos amp that's mounted into the basement, and that's going to be controlled in a rack in the basement. So further on the audio side, we're going to put a sub in this corner right here, a Sonos Sub Mini. And then we figured out that a 22-inch monitor will fit over here in the corner. For years, they had a 19-inch 4:3 aspect ratio monitor that was kind of perfect. But, you know, this is the thing that Ben and I are sort of debating right now is, do we want to either put a pole mount right here and make the TV come down, or do we want to put an articulating mount on the wall? The only thing is the backsplash is quartz, which I'm terrified to drill into because it's expensive. So it's certainly a lot safer if we just drill up into the cabinet, but we got to figure that part out. So network-wise, there are 6 dry lines, 6 Cat 6 dry lines that are running here. We're going to terminate 4 of those so that one is going to hit a Sonos beam that's going to be mounted to the TV on whatever mount we decide. The other one is going to be for the TV. So to further complicate things even more for this particular install, we are going to add an access point up here, which they built their house in the early 90s when a central vacuum was a thing. So the cool thing about all of this is they basically have these big conduit lines that are run. So we're going to pop this guy off, which is I believe on the back end, it's going to be the same size as a single gang wall box. And that's going to allow us to just mount an access point in here, because with this much smart stuff in here, it's a lot to ask. So the way that they're doing the house right now is there is a unified Dream Machine and one singular U6 access point that's doing the whole house. And who put that in? Me. I put that in. Is it fine? Yes. Could it be better? Yes. I'm just worried about all of the Wi-Fi intensive things that are going to be in the kitchen, the Sonos, the lights, all that kind of stuff. So this is day 1. Ben and I just spent the last 4 hours walking through here to get a game plan together to try to get all this stuff figured out. So tomorrow morning, we are going to hit it pretty hard. What are we going to do tomorrow? We don't quite know yet, but we'll figure it out when we get there. I think we're going to start soldering these lights in. So see you tomorrow. All right, I'm torturing poor Ben. Day 1, Joanne's light install. What you up to?
Splitting wires and heat shrinking.
So this is like kind of a entertainment video, right?
Yeah, very entertaining.
What are you up to here? So we've got 4 conductor wire coming up from the basement. And Ben is shrinking the heat.
Heating the shrink.
And we did this as a beta this morning. This is our 150 watt Meanwell power supply.
The safest
Yeah,
way to do it ever.
we're not going to talk about that. It's safe. Just don't touch those terminals. So we've got that. And then I've been in the process of addressing lights, doing the real hard work. Running to the hardware store, addressing lights, that kind of stuff. So we'll give you an update when they're mounted. Well, while Sweet Ben is upstairs doing the Lord's work and soldering all of those lights together, I got to figure out something to do with this panel down here. So what we had the electricians do when they did this install is this is all this 4-conductor cable. So when they added on to the house in the early 2000s, they added this basement portion on also. So it's kind of cool. This black wall that you see right here is actually the exterior wall of the old basement. So this is a sub panel. So unfortunately, the box that we got for the power supply fits right here, which is good, except I have to move this outlet Romex, which is that guy right there. So I'm going to pop this panel off and see if it'll be easy. Hopefully it is. Well, we've got everything moved. But I just want to let you guys know that before you just roast me in the comments section, I had the best of intentions of using this box. I got it from Uncle Jeff at Amazon, and it was the biggest box that I could fit in the hole provided. But here's the problem. Ruh-roh, I can't get the power supply in there unless I guess do that, and then it won't close. So here's what I'm thinking. This thing is relatively safe. We're going to use relatively safe. So we do have some live terminals over here when we plug this in. So I think I'm just going to put a piece of electrical tape on that and put a couple of P-Touch labels on here that says, careful, live voltage. So I don't really know what else to do. The only other thing that I could think about doing is if we take the power supply and mount it on a separate board and put the terminals down here, but you can't access anything and you can't troubleshoot it then. So, in theory, this is an electrical cabinet, and as long as I think we label everything pretty good, it's going to be fine. Because again, when they redid the basement here, there's a cabinet that covers this also, so it will be double enclosed. But I don't love that, but I also don't know what else to do. So this is the this is the courtesy plug for the panel. What I am going to do with this though is because the switches or the lights upstairs don't have a hard switch, they're just going to be controlled by Hue. I am going to knock out. I'm going to put a switch in here so that we can switch the power to this, so that we can work on it. It should, in theory, be in the always on position, but you know, just wanted to give you guys a trigger warning for electrical code violation. So comment section, do your thing. All right, this is our test, our safe test. It works. I get to finally show you Ben's beautiful handiwork on this. Look at this. You guys might not think that this is a big deal, but what time is it?
Oh, no. What is it? 4:46?
We have been at this since 10 this morning. So we have one cabinet done. Let's see, and where are you at for the rest of them? Now, that being fair.
The other one over here is done.
Which one?
Over here.
Oh, cool.
It's just not, we didn't hook that one.
Now, to be fair, the electricians were here. The general contractor was here. We're kind of working around everything, but yeah, this looks awesome. So Ben asked for a safe test. That's what it actually looks like, which is pretty sweet. So what I was doing while Ben was doing smart people work is I numbered all of these and put the serial number on them so that we can figure it out. But yeah, all right. Well, I'll show you the basement and then we'll get back to it. So our proof of concept worked, and here's what's going on down here. So I took this 2-gang box, switched it over. We have our panel outlet here, and then this Decora switch that I added in the ever-dreaded ivory color. God, I hate this color, but I didn't think it was worth replacing a GFCI outlet that nobody sees to get it matching to make it white, so I bought the ivory one. It's hilarious. It was on sale. This is $1.50 at the local hardware store. So this is the power supply. And this is doing all the lights. So we have the 4-conductor wire that's in there now. This is what's powering our proof of concept. So now I just have to undo all of this, and we'll get it wired into this terminal block. Okay, here we go. All finished up. This is our terminal block, and here's everything wired in. Let's go check in on Ben upstairs. Well, we are in the basement. And this is the storage room, and this is where I had all of the electricians terminate everything, or at least give me a big service loop. So we've got a plug on the wall here, so that is going to be the prime candidate for our network rack. And I see 2 studs poking out there, so here we go. So I'm going to get this rack mounted and check back in. So before we get started on anything else, we've got the speakers mounted in the ceiling upstairs, and I just figured before we get the rack hung on the wall and all that kind of stuff, we should probably just test everything and make sure it's okay. So this is a Sonos amp, and it comes with these cool little banana plugs and a cable and a box, and it comes in a very lovely little bag that you just hate to throw away. It's like the Crown Royal bags of installed audio. You can tell I cut the holes in the in the ceiling for the speakers. I'm covered in drywall dust. So here is the amp, and these are pretty cool. So this is what the little bananas plug into in the back. There's a separate sub out, and then there's also an input. And then if you want to feed this thing with ARC, there's an HDMI, and then you can also use it as a bridge. So again, I'm just going to get this hooked up and play some music upstairs and see what that sounds like. So we've probably already played too much to be demonetized, but we finally have a second to be quiet in here. And these things actually sound pretty good. One of the things that we did was we spec'd mineral wool. So this is rock wool safe and sound in the walls and in the ceiling, just to get some acoustic isolation. And they actually do sound pretty good. So as far as in-ceiling goes, which, man, I have yet to hear a coaxial in-ceiling speaker that sounds really nice. But what we're going to do is those are going to be in the ceiling. Obviously, there's going to be a sub in this back corner. And then we are going to come up with some type of TV situation in this corner that is going to have a Sonos beam in there. And the reason for the beam is I need to take ARC off of a TV so that we can get everything into the Sonos universe. The amp does take ARC, as we mentioned previously, but to get it back down into the basement to be back up here is going to be a pain in the butt. So I figured the easiest solution for that would be to come up with just have a Sonos Beam in there, and then that will get us into the Sonos ecosystem. So back to hanging the rack, the unfun job. Oh, hey, let's look at Ben's lights.
Ooh.
Are you almost done?
This one's not done, but I just finished up that one over there.
Hey, walk us through your process here.
Oh, okay. So
Maybe we should do a white cabinet.
yeah,
so you can
let's
see
do
it.
here.
We've got 3 different colors of cabinets in here.
That's the only one left with exposed wire. So I'll show you the wire stuff,
Okay.
and then we'll move over. So yeah, I'll get my flashlight out. So basically, I just cut back the wire to about where it is about an inch off from the front, and then I strip it back, and then I break it out into 2 of the pairs, and then I kind of match up the length of the 2 wires for the lights versus the wire for power, and then I trim them all back about the same length. I get the wire stripped and then solder them together, and then if you come over here, you can see up in here.
This is your
come around
finished.
the other side probably. You can see I just kind of heat shrink it all together into one nice big bundle, zip tie it up nice and tight so you can't see it. And
So Ben, why didn't we use just standard under cabinet lights?
because Billy decided he wanted Philips here.
Yes. Which, speaking of, we got these I think these are called Presidio. I'm doing this off the top of my head, of this track lighting system. This stuff is super, super cool. The tricky thing about getting all of these lights assigned last night is because they've been here for so long, they didn't want to recognize in the app, so we had to go and do each one of these lights individually by their serial number. But the linears look really cool. The spots look really cool. And this is in a, I can't remember what the scene is right now, but it's a 24-hour daylight scene. So it's a dynamic scene in hue. So if you notice, some of these lights are actually different colors. So we have this in a work light mode right now. They're not horrifically 6000K, but man, they're getting close to it. But they do have a couple of them that just add this this warm glow ambience. So while we're doing all of the install work, we're also trying to write a basic protocol so that we can program some scenes in here so that we can have stuff that looks nice but isn't painful to the eyes. Back to the rack.
Goodbye.
Well, fortunately, the amplifier and speakers work, so here comes the unfun part. We get to hang the rack. So this thing is going to weigh a ton. It's, I think it's a 20-inch deep 8-space rack. So they hang with these wall brackets like this. So just looking at this, I think we can get every other hole with a lag bolt. So I'm going to get these studs marked and find center, and then we'll go from there. All right, the rack is on the wall. Look at this monster. And shout out to Ben Elcon. Figured if I was installing the rack in the basement of a guy who owns a case company, it should be at least a Ben Elcon brand rack. This thing is pretty big though. Well, and the reason why it's so big is, one, I figured out that I think I have a 16-inch deep one at home, really isn't that deep, isn't deep enough. And the other thing is I have a really deep UPS coming in here. So one of the interesting things about this particular rack is the inlets and outlets. You know, you can't see this, but this is a 1U blank pen panel. And on the top, they have a 1U blank vented panel. So that's how you get in and out, which is kind of a whack design, if I must say so myself. Who's going to leave those in? You're going to take those out immediately. So it's like they're almost pseudo giving you a free blank panels. Anyway, get some gear loaded in, check back in. So the rack is kind of anticlimactic until we can start to get things to wire into it. So check it out. We removed the first central vacuum plate, and that's what that looks like. It has set screws. So when they built this house, they pre-wired it for a security system and the central vacuum. So I think the security system is what that white and blue wire is, though I white and red wire, thank you. I don't know what they would do, but this is a good spot for our UniFi in-wall access point that's gonna go right here. A favorite of mine. So anyway, there's that. We're gonna get that rocking. Look how nice these lights look in here now. We are certainly rounding the corner. I think this video is getting a little long, so we're probably gonna do it as a two-part. One part install, the other part program. I think we're pretty much done putting hardware in this place other than access points, but yeah, check back in. Okay, so this wraps up day 2. So this is about 20 hours worth of work, what you guys have witnessed so far. I mean, as far as the video goes, I'm cherry picking moments to show you. A lot of this is just quite tedious soldering. And here's what we have as far as everything goes. These are our under cabinet lights. These are all done. I think the winner on this particular project are these linears. These things are very, very cool. So we ended up doing 2 of these with the center power supply. Not much info out on the world for these guys. So I figured it was important to show you guys in this video. This is what they look like on the other side. So here are all the can lights done in the kitchen. All of the under cabinet lights. Ben is putting in the access point. That is going to be the next part of this project, is really getting into the networking. But this is cool, so I don't know how well this shows up on camera. These are dark blue cabinets, and then just to have this little colored accent light underneath here is quite nice looking. The audio portion, what is installed? These are Sonos in-ceiling speakers. I just need to put those grates back up. And then we also have a Sub Mini in the corner. And this system is a bit of a ripper. It sounds pretty good in here so far. Eventually, we're going to get a TV in the corner. We have to terminate those, but I think we're going to save all that stuff for part 2. One of the other things that we did decide to add post is we did swap these guys out here to Hue cans as well. And then if you go into the hallway here, there are 4 cans in this upstairs hallway that we decided to add also. And the reason why is we're going to put a Brilliant controller upstairs, and then you're going to have the ability to put the whole house into a night light mode. And I just thought it would be great to have LEDs up in the hallway, and then as you came down here, so as you're coming down the steps, you go down the hall. Now, they do have a big foyer light in here. This is actually a 4-way light. So what we did for the non-smart light applications is we're using Lutron Caseta. And because of that, or because we're using that, with the Brilliant controllers, you can write macros between manufacturers. So anything that's Philips obviously is going to work great. The Lutron Caseta stuff is just, traditional dimmers. So, some of the lights that we're going to do for that are, say, the dining room light that's not installed, the living room light that's not installed, and then this hallway light. So going back to it, when we write the night light macro, all of these lights, as an example, can go into a dim mode, and then that light can come on too. But this is a 3-way switch that controls these, and then this is also a 4-way switch. So there's a switch point here, here, and upstairs. So again, to close the video, one last look at the kitchen. This is really, really cool. This came out great. So the next portion of the video will focus on the network stuff, some more audio visual, and yeah, catch you on the next one. Stay tuned. See you later. Bye.